spacebar. Welcome folks, all good. Welcome back to the Bailey workshop for guitarmaking.co.uk. T-shirts are available. I forgot to put mine on. I'll put that on in a minute, don't worry. Right, so today we're going to talk about soundboard bracing, or bracing in general. So I'm going to talk about soundboard bracing mostly, but I'm going to talk about bracing the back a little bit. So we're focusing on acoustic guitars for a while. On the last live stream you saw me making the rosette for my acoustic guitar. So that's this guitar that's down here. If we could have camera 3. So guys, we've got new camera angle. So this is a portable camera which I can move around and get you some good shots, hopefully get you right in on the action. And we've still got the overhead cam and the other cam, so we're on 3 cameras today, and we have a new switcher. So Carol's over there.
You haven't got rid of me.
Carol's over there working the master controls, and we've got a new it's what they call a hardware switcher. So instead of relying on the computer to switch between the cameras, we've got a box where we plug the cameras in and we can... Carol's just dropped it. So we can easily switch between the cameras, and it's a lot more stable. So if something goes wrong, hopefully it'll be easier to fix, and hopefully less things will go wrong, and we should even have a better picture. What went wrong just at the start there, I tried to up the quality, the stream quality, to 1080. Didn't quite work, so we're back on 720, but that's good enough for live streaming, isn't it? So I should point out this is live, so anything could happen. We're still waiting for the postman to turn up halfway through. That hasn't happened yet. But things could go wrong. Hopefully they won't, but because it's live, hopefully you'll bear with us a little bit more than on the website. We've got the full-on build your own guitar courses, which are all edited, and all the ums and ahs are taken out, and all my swear words edited out, so it's all good and everything's succinct and brief and to the point, unlike the live streams, which can get a bit waffly at times. So anyway, welcome to the Bailey workshop. We're going to concentrate on soundboard braces. So let me show you one that's done, and then I'll talk you through how we get there. So here's Ed's guitar that I'm building, the old Dreadnought. I'm afraid I haven't got any further with it, Ed. I'm working on it. This is going to be my task. My major task this week is to get this guitar finished. So if you tune in on Wednesday, you'll see just how far I've got. But that is a soundboard that's all braced up. There's different types of bracing, which I'm going to talk you through in a minute. This one's is an X brace, and every one of these braces, believe it or not, has got its own unique name. So by the end of this live session, you'll know what they're all called and what they're all for, and I'm going to talk you through the procedure of how we actually go about doing it, because the biggest mistake that everybody makes first is they think we'll glue the X braces on first, but in actual fact those are the last ones to glue on. So I don't have time, because of waiting for glue to dry and that kind of thing. I don't have time to just start with a soundboard and brace it all the way through, because it is done in stages. So we glue braces on in stages, and then we carve them in between before we move on to the next stage. So there's what, 3 or 4 different stages. Too much to do in one live stream. I did consider doing a part 1 and a part 2. Maybe I'll do that one day, do it more in depth. But until then, if you want to know full on in depth how to go about this, including the design and the layout of the braces, then you'll need to go to guitarmaking.co.uk, and you can sign up there. To watch the courses, you'll need to be a premium member, or if you just want to support us, then you can just become a supporter. You'll find the links in the description. I've not put them in yet, actually. I'll put them in at the end, but the links will be in the description below if you want to become a supporter or a premium member of guitarmaking.co.uk and get full access to the full courses, where you learn from start to finish, literally starting with a blank piece of paper right the way through to stringing it up, final setup and playing. So there's a little intro. I think I'm going to focus on soundboard bracing, talk a little bit about back bracing, but we've also got a little special spot. We're going to feature one of my students at the end, who has he's been building guitars at home, and he came on my course, and then he's been building guitars in his shed at home. So I just want to show you guys that you know, you can do it. This is perfectly doable. People think that making a guitar is really hard, pretty much impossible, but well, I'm here to tell you that anybody can build guitars. You need a few tools. So one of the main things that people ask about is the tools. There is a video, again I'll put the link in the description, essential tools for guitar making, and then I'll have another video which is extra tools for making acoustic guitars. So hopefully it's not going to break the bank. You don't need to spend an absolute fortune. There's loads of tips. If you sign up as a supporter, there's a whole set of free plans and a free ebook which will tell you all the tools that you need, and you can tick them off as you get them. Beg, borrow, but don't steal. You'd be surprised actually, if you put the word out there that you need certain tools, there's probably someone out there who's got one and he's not using it, and they're more than glad to let you have it and let you use it. I know that because it's happened to me over and over again, and a lot of the tools in my workshop here, actually including the cupboard that I keep them in, has been donated by people who've wanted to support me. So I'm sure people love guitars and guitar making, so there's a lot of support out there for that sort of thing.
You'll never guess who's on the
Who's on the line, Carol?
Dave Terry.
Dave Terry is on the line. Talk of the devil and he's sure to appear. So for instance, Dave Terry, who's in there on the comments, Dave Terry made the radius machine that you see me radiusing our fretboards with. So if you buy a fretboard from us, fretboards are available on the website, then we put the radius on the front of the fretboard using the swinging arm. That was made by Dave Terry. So I've been asked a few times where I got that from, and so Dave, I don't know if you're still interested in making those for people, but if I get asked, I'll pass them on to you, and yeah, Dave's the man. So Dave also made my fret bender. Can you grab the fret bender there? Yeah. Give it a whack that way.
He's
Yeah, this voice doesn't work. So this is a fret bender that I pop into my vise, and you put your fret through. I feel like I should demonstrate it now. Anyway, Dave made that for me. Made a few others, and we did sell them for a while, but I've run out now. So Dave, I don't know if you're interested in making some more stuff, but we're still here, we're still going, and glad you tuned in. It's good to have you online.
we've got Matt in Denver.
Matt in Denver, hi Matt.
We've got Alec in Dumfries.
Hope you're all staying safe and behaving yourselves.
We've got TV out on the east, and you've got Bag Press in the middle.
Yep, so hi folks.
Theron on the west.
Hi Theron.
And Mike Abbott down the road, and a few other people. So
still munching our way through them pies.
Questions.
I'm afraid, Darren, that we've eaten most of the pasta already. with those little tomatoes. Oh, yeah, lovely. So we're not here to talk about food, but keep sending it. So I'm going to show you. Let's talk about different. Let's talk about different types of X braces first. Different types of X braces. I'm going to talk about different types of braces styles. X braces is one of those styles. So when guitars were originally invented, they used nylon strings, catgut strings, and the soundboards were all ladder braced. So if you look inside a vintage guitar, this is the back of a modern acoustic guitar. If you look inside an old a vintage guitar, you'll see that they're ladder braced. So that was good enough for most nylon strings. It's cheap and easy to do, but with the advent of steel strings, they needed to come up with something a bit stronger. And so here's the basic form of ladder bracing. Can be used for tops, but not recommended for steel strings. So I think it was, I'm pretty sure Martin came up with the X brace. So this is the X brace. Incredibly clever. Just look at that for a little while, soak it in, appreciate the genius of the X brace. Carol, don't zoom in anymore please, because I need to show them the old thing. Right, so this part of the guitar is the most solid part of the guitar. Look on the outside. This is where the fretboard will be. It's where the fretboard's glued on. And so this part becomes rock solid. We've got a visitor. No, I think it's just the cows. This part of the guitar is solid. And also, if you look at all these other braces, this one here is the fattest and chunkiest of them all. Okay. So this part of the guitar we've established is solid. So everything's braced off that. If you look how it works, here's your sound hole braces. So these are to reinforce the area around the sound hole. The sound hole braces are connected to the X braces, which is then connected to the bridge. These finger braces stretch off and the lower face braces reinforce this area. So everything is braced off this solid area of the guitar. You can see how the sound hole braces are connected to the X brace, which connects to this. So this all becomes like one piece. And the idea is to transmit the vibrations as efficiently as possible from the bridge to the soundboard, and it's all braced off this part here. It's very clever. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. So the idea is it's supposed to move like an air pump. You'll notice that if you just switch to the other camera a second, these braces are square. They're not carved yet. And then if you switch back to this one, Carol, you'll notice that on the finished braces are all carved. So it's easier to glue the braces on while they're just big square chunks of wood, and then we carve them afterwards. So we don't glue them all at once. As I've said, there's like several stages to it. So I'm just going to talk you through that now. In a second. So we've got ladder bracing, we've got X bracing, and there are a few other types that you'll see. Most notably, you will see what they call A bracing. So that is just where Don't know if you can change the angle, Carol, so I can. Perfect. So on an A braced guitar, the X braces it's pretty much the same, but these braces here continue into the heel block, and they're actually anchored underneath, so it makes it a lot stronger here. I'm sure if you Google A style braces for acoustic, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's like a modern invention. Personally, I like to stick to the X brace because I like the traditional sound, kind of like a traditional American sound is what I like. So I like to leave it as a traditional X brace. The A brace does change the sound slightly, so I prefer this one. And then you get into wacky territory where people have made lattice style braces. So instead of an X, it's a crisscross. A lot of these things are invented by engineers, but the real world isn't really like that. I like the X brace because it kind of, its slight wonkiness reflects the way the real world is to me. So yeah, X bracing is 95% of most modern guitars are X braced. So it's the most common form of bracing, and it's the style of bracing that we use on the course. I'm sure I'll probably add other styles of bracing at some point, but the course at the moment is aimed at beginners. My task is what I'm trying to do is convince you that you can build a guitar, and I know quite a lot of actual professional guitar makers, and even some of those are a bit nervous about tackling acoustic guitars. I'm mentioning no names, but I know famous guitar makers who won't make acoustic guitars. Because I guess there is quite a lot of mystery about it, but that's what I'm here for, to show you that it isn't as mysterious and dangerous and clever as what you think. Yeah, but it is good fun, and it keeps me out of trouble. Right, so I'm now going to talk you through the process of bracing an acoustic guitar soundboard. I might even glue some bits on, eh? So if we can get a shot over here, oh dear. I'm going to be over here for the rest of the session now. Now this was all ready to glue, but I've broken it down now just to show you guys. Let's have a look at the rosette that I did last time. So if you remember on the last live stream, I made this rosette. Which camera are we on? That one. There we go. So this is our Heather Gems rosette. So I'm the only guitar maker who's got this stuff. This is our unique Heather Gem stuff. So if you want a guitar with this on it, I'm afraid you're going to have to commission it from me, guys. So all I've done since the last live stream is cut the hole out. I used the same method to cut the hole as I did to make the slot. Easy peasy. So I've actually marked out the bracing pattern. Pretty sure you won't be able to see that. When I mark it out really lightly. So not too heavy on the pencil. So we're going to glue the flat braces first. We glue those in 2 stages. So let me talk you through the braces. These are the ones we glue first. I'm going to talk you through them. I'm going to tell you what they're all called in the order that we glue them, okay? So here's our bridge plate. So that is obviously to reinforce the area underneath the bridge. It's called the bridge plate. That is actually the most difficult brace to glue because it's fitted in between these X braces and it has to be glued on in exactly the right place so that the X braces butt up against it. So that's the most difficult one to glue. Then we have the upper transverse graft. Upper transverse graft. So any of these thin ones are called grafts. There's a couple of them. We have one on the back called a back graft. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, as is the bridge plate. And I also want you to note that some of these braces go right to the edge, but some don't. So the upper transverse graft doesn't. I'm going to cut that one to length. So it finishes 5/8 of an inch from the edge. So I use a piece of scrap. That's actually the next brace that I use. It's actually 5/8 of an inch tall, so it's just the right height, so that I can mark that from the edge. So this brace doesn't go all the way to the edge. Some of these braces do and some don't. I lost my saw. Oh, there it is. So just to give you another look at this, some of these braces go all the way to the edge, but some don't. So as you can see, the X braces do, the upper face brace does, all the others don't. They all finish just before the edge, in this case so that you can fit the curved lining in. In this case, look, finishes just before the edge, just to add a bit of flexibility there. So don't worry folks, I'm not going to bore you with doing this entire top. You can get that on the overhead, Carol. So I'm not going to bore you with doing the whole top, but I'm just going to show you a few little techniques that you use and you can just repeat until you've done the whole top. Okay, so first of all we cut them to length. So these braces are all obviously sized. I've made all these to the right size. The dimensions to this are all on a PDF that you can download if you join up on the site. Before we glue them, it's a good idea to give them a scrape. I'm going to glue that this way round. So this is my gluing surface. I'm going to get my blade and just give it a scrape. Because this is a sanded surface, but if you scrape it you get a stronger glue joint. So the basic procedure with the flat braces is to scrape them and then glue them on. So I've already scraped my bridge. And these are ready to glue on. So we have,
Got a question.
hang on Carol, bridge plate, upper transverse graft, I'm just going to go through the braces quickly and then we'll do questions. Here is our sound hole brace reinforcement, sound hole braces. So they connect to the upper face brace. So they all connect to the X braces. And then our finger braces lead off from there, finger braces. And then lower face braces. Okay, so bridge plate, upper transverse graft. Upper face brace, sound hole braces, X braces, finger braces, lower face braces. There are also diamond centre seam reinforcements which we use to glue on the little squares of spruce. And they'll glue on there. So let's just get an overhead shot of that, shall we?
That would be better.
Carl can get a shot of that. If you've got any suggestions on how we can improve our live streams, by the way, guys, just leave them in the comments. Okay, what should we do next?
Well, you've got a couple of questions about...
Questions, go on then.
So Ian asked you what wood is that that you're using for bracing, and EP asked, is there any particular special type of wood or can you use?
Fantastic. Who asked that?
So EP asked what kind of woods...
EP, cheers for that question.
No, but and Ian asked what wood are you using there?
You've got me P and P there.
Oh,
You do that on purpose.
Oh.
Yeah, so what material do we use for braces? That's a brilliant question. I did mean to say that at the start. Most braces are made from spruce. So this is Sitka spruce. You can actually hear. I'll hold it up in the air then, because they can't see down here, can they, Carol? No. So this is spruce. Most braces are made from spruce. This is Sitka spruce, which is one of the stiffest kinds. What you want from a brace is you want something that's lightweight, and it needs to be stiff and strong. So, you know, I think they used to build airplanes out of this stuff, didn't they? So, Sitka spruce is ideal for making braces, and that's what we're using. Now, there were periods in time where they used other stuff. We use the same for the back as well, but you'll notice that here down the back I've used a back graft made from mahogany. So mahogany is occasionally used for bracing the back, but we always use spruce for bracing the front. I have seen people using like a lamination of carbon fibre. So this brace, for instance, would have a line, a black line down the middle, and it would be glued up, made from spruce with carbon fibre in the middle. The idea there is so that you can make it lighter and still be as strong. That's my belly rumbling, guys. Getting hungry.
Right, you've got another question.
Okay, so questions then. Let's do some questions.
Right, I'm not going to tell you what my cabinet said, because it would be some of the results of it.
No, because I'll only get upset.
So Jim McMillan, what kind of wood? Jim McMillan said, everything is symmetrical except the lower face braces. Would it make any difference if they sloped the other way or were perpendicular?
Good question. Well done.
Or were perpendicular to the centre line?
They stand out a bit clearer on this. This is a, what's this? Top?
Oh, that's Nick's.
This is Naughty Nick. He's making an acoustic guitar
It's
on the workshop
Tasmanian
course.
Blackwood.
He started it before the lockdown, and so he hasn't been able to come back to finish it off yet, but it's coming. He is coming back. This is Tasmanian Blackwood, which I've never used for a soundboard before. I wouldn't recommend it, but it sounds alright, doesn't it? You can break all the rules and still end up with a really good sounding guitar. Naughty Nick's notorious for breaking all the rules. So there's your diamonds. Everything stands out a bit better on this one, doesn't it? What we've done with this one, because of the cutaway, is we've angled the upper face brace. Some people just make the upper face brace shorter. You'll see that. I like to keep it, but just angle it. So the question was about these lower face braces being offset. Well, it's because bass and treble vibrate at different frequencies, and so what they're trying to do is trying to get the best of both worlds by allowing the bass side to vibrate more freely. And the treble side is tighter, so it will be more trebly. Imagine a string. The tighter the string, the higher the pitch. So this is an attempt to enhance the bass, or rather keep the bass and the treble even. So it's looser there, which allows more movement, and it's tighter there for the higher frequencies. So if you look how it corresponds to the front, your treble side and your bass side. That's why it's handed. So a soundboard is handed. It's a right-handed or left-handed, which is why you shouldn't really take a right-handed acoustic, switch it over to left-handed, because the actual braces are handed. These can be parallel to the X braces. Notice mine converge towards the X brace. They can be parallel. There's lots of different designs and patterns out there. The looser it is here, the more bass. So what you need to do is make 100 guitars and experiment with different bracing patterns, and then you'll have a better idea about it. So
that leads on to. So TV is asking, is the bracing just for strength, or is it a combination of strength and managing the sound waves in the body?
Yeah, it's purely for strength. If you could make a plate, I'm pretty sure that if you could make a plate that was strong enough, it didn't need any bracing at all, I think it would probably sound better. Because what you've done effectively is Preston Reed actually came and explained. This is how he explained it to me, and this isn't how I necessarily explain it to other people. But it does make sense if you think about it. So what you do is you take a perfect piece of perfect membrane, and then you just stick all this stuff over it. It makes it sound rubbish. So then what you've got to do is kind of carve them and dial the tone back in. So that is where experience and skill comes in. But what I can tell you is, if you stick to the basic measurements that I give you on the course, you can't really go too far wrong. You're bound to make a guitar that sounds fantastic, as long as you stick within certain parameters. But you'll notice that, listen to this. This is a beautiful, loose, unhindered sound of a vibrating guitar top tap test. Let's see if I can. I'll try it holding it in a few different places.
Why you gone nowhere near the camera?
Well, I can't watch the camera, can I? I'm near the mic. Okay, so it's a really big wub, sort of like a bassy sound. I don't know what that sounds like to you guys, but that's what it sounds like to me. Now listen to this one with the braces on. It's going to be a lot tighter sound. It's going to be like higher pitched. There you go. So what you've done is you've taken a lovely, resonant, beautiful, warm sounding membrane, and to make it strong enough so that it doesn't just completely fall apart. I mean, look how weak that is. It's just so flexible. Guitar strings would just rip that to pieces. So it needs to be braced. It ruins the sound. This is how Preston explained it to me. And then what you've got to do as a guitar maker is dial that tone back in. So by judicious removal of material on these braces, we can dial that lovely warm tone back in. What we're trying to do is make it respond evenly to all tones rather than just the bass or just the treble. So
Jim,
hopefully that made a bit of sense. So this one for instance isn't finished. It's rough carved, but it needs to be tap tuned. So tap tuning is the black art, which nobody can really explain to you how to do it. But basically it comes down to weakening the braces until you're trying to get as much of this tone back as you can. Basically. So
Jim said, so it's similar to the fanned fret idea then?
the fanned fret idea.
You explained about the...
Fanned frets is where instead of straight frets, your frets would start like this and they would gradually be on an angled.
Because he asked the question about would it make a difference if they sat the other way or then perpendicular?
So yeah, it's not really related to that at all, no.
Okay.
The fanned fret is a different thing altogether. Yeah, you would need, if you were doing a fanned fret, you would need to know what scale length is it at this side and what scale length is it at that side. And then you need to choose which fret you want to be straight, because one of these frets will be straight, depending on where it is. And then you just offset it and work from there. Then you'd have to lay out your soundboard. You just use exactly the same techniques. I show you on the course how to lay out from a blank piece of paper. You just use exactly the same techniques, but the parameters will be different. So instead of having one scale length, you've got two. So your bridge would be on an angle as well. And then laying out the braces would be it's done by eye. You can't see my pencil lines, can you? It's really done by eye. So you can lay these out by eye. There's a particular formula that I go through on the course. This one goes this distance from this one has to go there, and the bracing pattern kind of designs itself if you follow the simple formula that I've laid out.
Another good question.
Okay, another good question.
Right,
Brilliant.
So Mike Abbott is saying, so why do vintage guitars sound so good if they've been ladder braced?
Wow.
Wow.
It might not necessarily have been ladder braced, the vintage guitar, because they'd started doing X braces 100 years ago or something. So I was generalising really. But why do old guitars sound so good? Well, for a few reasons, I think. One reason is that wood is kind of oily or resiny, and over the years that resin will dry and become more brittle. Something that's more brittle will resonate easier, if you see what I mean. So it's not, if you dampen something down, And the clue's in the actual word dampen. If you dampen something, it becomes less resonant. And so over the years, as the wood dries out, I believe it becomes more resonant. The same goes for the finish. So when you spray a guitar, you're wrapping it in some kind of finish. And the skill of a painter actually is how thin you can get that finish and still get a perfect finish. Well, I say perfect, there's no such thing as perfect. I'm sure we've all worked that out by now. But the thicker the finish, the more you're wrapping that instrument in a blanket, it becomes less resonant. Older finishes become more brittle because, old style finishes generally nitrocellulose we're talking about. When you spray it, most of the material you're spraying is actually solvent, which then evaporates, leaving behind the hard coating. Well, the truth is, 100% of that solvent doesn't evaporate. It takes a long time. I've sprayed guitars before where 9 months later I've opened the case and I can smell the paint. That means that paint's still drying after 9 months. That was a particularly thick coat of cellulose, but my point is that over the years, solvent continues to evaporate from traditional finishes. So the finish continues getting thinner and thinner and more brittle, which is only going to increase the tone. So there's two reasons why old guitars sound better. People say they sound better. This is particularly to acoustic guitars, because with electric guitars most of the sound comes from the pickups, and what happens with pickups over time is that the magnets fade, and so the sound does change over time. So what you find is that 50s sound that you might want, that 50s sound for instance, well actually when they recorded it, that was a brand new pickup. So if you play a 50s guitar now, it doesn't sound like it did back in the day. So yeah, time has an effect on these things. So if you buy a vintage pickup nowadays, it will have a weaker magnet to try and emulate a magnet that's faded over time. So yeah, do we have any more questions?
Not at the moment.
I was going to show you how we carve the braces. So carving braces, it's the same for all braces, whatever the shape or size. Some are taller. Some are lower. But generally, what we want to do is make them round. So it's easy to glue these braces on while they're square, because you can get the clamps on. As soon as you carve them into shapes, it becomes a lot harder. The clamps just want to fall off, you see. So I'm going to quickly show you how we carve braces. I'm going to start with maybe these two. Carol, I'm going to start with these two at the front. For camera 3, well, this one here, it's pointing nowhere. Yeah, I want a close up of these two, please. Chisel. And my favourite is this little plane. I ought to try and find these for the website, but these are, it's a tiny little plane which I love for carving braces. You don't need it, but it just makes it quicker. A little wooden plane there. Maybe we'll do a little tutorial on how to make one of these or similar. I didn't make mine, by the way, I bought it. Actually, that's a lie. I didn't buy it. Somebody gave it to me. It was a gift. So these braces are going to be curved. Whenever we're doing anything curved, we always start by carving facets. So with these, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches in on the front ones and 2 inches in on the back ones. It's not really important, these measurements. What's more important is that I'm demonstrating you the techniques, okay? Most important thing, always keep your hands behind the blade. So there's no electricity, there's no power tool involved here. But even so, I'm still going to be extra careful. Chisels, these can be pretty sharp. That's another subject for another video, is sharpening tools. But don't get too hung up on it, because if you buy a chisel, it's already going to be pretty sharp. I guarantee you'll be able to make 10 guitars before you need to sharpen it. So worry about sharpening later. Let's worry about building our first guitars first. Right. So always keep your hands behind the blade, look. In this case, I'm going to ramp this down to about 1/8 of an inch where it crosses the line. So I've got a piece of scrap wood there. So it's 1/8 of an inch thick. I'm going to carve it down until it's the same as that. And do the same on the other side. I'm going to be moving around pretty quick, Carol, so don't zoom in too much on. So same on the other side. Now I'm going to make these into a parabolic arch this way. So simply, I'm going to plane a facet. Same on the other side. Now, this is already developing a curve. I'm just going to do a few long strokes just to blend it in. Try and do the same on both sides. Guitar maker's eye, to have a look. Beautiful. Let me see if I can show you that. Curve there.
That's it.
It's just rough, just done it quickly. It's good enough. So now we're going to make it go curve this way. So what we do is we just do a simple facet first. So I can't help counting. That was 4 strokes. So I'm going to try and do the same on both sides there. So now we've got a facet. Can we see that, Carol? Okay.
Place.
Now it's moving.
See it though, you can see the facet.
It's better if you switch camera while I'm adjusting it there. So now basically I'm going to carve an extra facet halfway between that one and that one.
Not with the camera on.
So right like that. Yeah, why not? And look at that, it already looks round, doesn't it? I'll do a bit more. Same on the other side. Okay, and now I'm just going to blend it in. So I start with the plane flat like that. Switch the camera angle, Carl. Thank you. I'm going to do one long stroke and then tip it, another long stroke, and tip it, another long stroke, and tip it, and repeat till I get to the top, and then back down, and I'm going to do the same on both sides. Okay, and then just need sanding. So I'm using 120 here, but you could use 80 or doesn't really matter, just to sand it. Both sides. There we go. So I'll do one more. I'm going to do, if I move the camera, I'm going to do one of these fat ones just to show you the difference. Definitely need another tripod. Okay, so I'm going to ramp my ends first. Which one would be best to do? This. I'm going to do this one. Carol. This one or this one?
That one's better for that camera, the bottom one.
This one.
Yeah.
Ramping it down. Now, notice this one. I don't have to use the whole chisel because it kind of gets hard to cut if you're using the full width of the chisel. What I can do is just use half of it, like this. See that?
Yeah.
So I can take that bit down to depth and then take the rest of it down to match. Same on the other side. Just notice I'm always keeping both hands behind the blade at all times. You guys can take a bit more time over it than me. Close enough. Okay, so if you haven't got the plane, you can just do the whole thing with a chisel. Like this. It's exactly the same, it's just a bit harder. And it takes a bit longer. Yeah, sorry. So switch back to the plane because it's quicker. A nice big facet. So again, these will be graduated. I'm just rough carving them now. But what I'll do is I'm going to try and match them to the front. What you don't want is a kind of lightweight front and then a really heavy back. You want them to be kind of matched. So the front and the back should be working together and not against each other. And that's achieved by making sure that they resonate together. I can show you. I show you how to check that on the course.
Oh yeah, the camera works better on the course.
So you get the idea. We start off with these big square chunks and then we carve them until they're round. So I was told back in the factory that shall not be named, I was told actually that this goes back to what you said earlier, Mike, a question about the sound waves inside. I was taught that you should have no sharp edges inside a guitar. If you look inside a lot of cheap guitars, you'll see that the braces are actually just left flat and chunky.
That must affect the sound.
So any sharp edges like that will break a wave. So I don't know whether they were winding me up. It's the sort of thing they tell the apprentice, but they did say, I was told that there should be no sharp edges inside a guitar, no corners, because it breaks up the sound waves. They don't travel as fluidly as they would otherwise. Yeah, I haven't worked out if they were winding me up yet or not though, but that's it. That's enough face. So I'm going to give this a quick sand. And they're still mega chunky. I'll probably take quite a lot more off these later. But I just wanted to give you the idea.
Oh, your camera.
I wanted to show you.
That's what I was saying about your camera.
Well, why didn't you do something about it instead of just
I didn't
watching?
I don't know if it's going to fall off, honestly.
We need to get another tripod. This one's falling apart.
Your bum.
Mm-hmm.
It filmed your bum before it fell off.
Oh, well done. See, I can't change the camera angle.
No, it didn't.
I hope you all enjoyed that picture of my bum.
It wasn't there.
Right, there we go.
No.
That's it. Let's get a close up then, Carol.
Yeah. Ready? I tried to.
Right, here's the first one I did. It's tall and thin. Glued on square. And then carved. So that's just rough carved and rough sanded. What we do when we fit this back into the guitar, when we're building the guitar, then I'll recarve the brace ends to make them fit perfectly. That's all explained. And then here's the one at the back. So big square chunk and then carved into a nice round, beautiful shape, parabolic shape. So again, they're a bit chunky. I'm going to take a bit more off those. The size of the final result of the braces comes down to your guitar maker's eye, experience and feel and all that kind of thing. Thank you. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to show you a little slideshow of some guitars that have been made at home by, just remind me, Carol, who is it?
Mike Johnson.
So Mike Johnson.
I don't know if it's sorry. Well, I can't do everything.
So Mike came on our course and built some guitars with us in the workshop, and now he's away building them at home. The only thing is I can't see I can't see them now.
Oh, why not?
Is it playing now?
Yeah, well, I'll put it on pause.
Yeah.
Do you want to come around?
I'll have to come round and watch it.
And then shout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that headstock, guys. Tell me that's not awesome. Actually, I was going to use a logo very similar to that, Mike. If you imagine the C being a B, that was going to be my logo, MJB, because that's my initials, by the way. Well done. Look at that. He's put binding around his headstock and a nice mother of pearl logo. Beautiful.
Also,
Now, binding the headstock isn't covered on the course yet, but it will be. It's one of the bonus videos that I've yet to film. Yeah, thank you, by the way, to who was that? Look at that. So that's a double cut that Mike's made at home. So he made that completely at home on his own, in his own workshop, and he sprayed it as well.
he's done a fantastic job. But he used we helped him source wood and
Yeah, so he's got some of the bits and bobs from us,
kit.
and obviously learnt how to do it here.
But he's also a premium member, isn't he? So it's coming.
So here's an acoustic that he's made. He made that in here, or
No, these are the ones he made at home.
all right? So he's made these at home.
Lockdown.
That's his lockdown special acoustic.
and the electric.
Yep. So the course covers electric guitars and acoustic guitars from start to finish.
He's even on binder.
Mike's made and designed and built that completely from scratch, and I believe that's one of our kits. So
But that's just wood, isn't it? Not pre-made anything.
the kit that we supply is all blanks ready to work on. So it's a rosewood back and sides, spruce top, rosewood fretboard, and mahogany neck, and then everything that you need to complete your guitar. So that's his little collection there. Those are all guitars that he's made himself.
Yeah, and so 2 of them were here, and 2 of them were at home.
Brilliant. Is that the last picture? Fantastic. There you go. So thanks to Mike for letting us do that. And I think we'll do that again. We'll feature... to be honest, I'm completely gobsmacked by what you guys have been turning out. Yeah, I'm completely gobsmacked by what you guys can do, given a little bit of information from me. Couple of little tricks and that. It's amazing what you can do, isn't it? So there you go. I would just like to...
And if people look on the community, Mike's just one of lots.
Yeah, head over to the site, guys, guitarmaking.co.uk, and you'll see some more pictures of Mike's guitars there and what he's working on currently, and also what all the other guys are all working on. So Bill Flood's making his spectacular through neck guitar at the moment that looks like something you could eat, and Deej and Tony and everybody. Tony's made, I can't count the amount of guitars that Tony's made. He's been very, very busy. He's made lots of guitars. So head over to it's free to join the community and just have a look around. You only have to pay if you want to get on the actual courses.
Got a couple of questions.
Couple of questions before we finish.
Okay, they're both from Mike Abbott, right? The first one was about torification. Are we going to experiment? Right. No.
Torification. Yeah.
Well, you can say it quickly.
Well, what they've done is they've tried to... I was talking about the ageing process earlier. Well, they've tried to artificially induce that. So, yeah, it's probably great.
Okay, and then the other question he asked was that some luthiers are making braces with big holes in them, presumably to let the sound waves travel around the guitar body? Question mark.
Guitars with extra holes.
Bracing with extra holes.
Bracing with holes. Yes, again, it comes down to weight and strength. So what they're trying to do is get the weight down, but keep it strong. So arches, arches, we all know arches are strong shapes. So that's why that's done. And both those things, torrification and holes in your braces, I'll tell you why they do it. Because it sells guitars. Basically. Yeah, we're all trying to do something different, aren't we? So every guitar maker out there, you learn how to build guitars and then you think, oh, I could do it better. I could do it better than that. And then you come up with an improvement.
Innovation.
And everybody goes, yeah, that's great. Or they don't. So yeah, innovations. But I tell you what, most guitar players and makers, in fact, we're quite conservative, aren't we? We're quite traditionalist. So we want our guitars to sound like guitars, don't we? Most. So I don't know. That's what I'm doing anyway. That's what I'm doing to try and stand out. I've got my fancy rosettes. And also, I'll make any type of guitar you want. So if there's a particular thing that you want on a guitar you can't find anywhere, then I'm your guy. So I can do it. So yeah, I was asked by Jim McMillan. Cheers for your questions, by the way. He asked if I'd had any strange requests. So I think what's the strangest one that comes to mind is probably, the strangest one that comes to mind is probably the one string bass, which is also strangely is one of my most popular guitars. But I don't want to be known for the guy who makes the one string bass. So I don't make hundreds of them. But
remember, somebody wanted you to make a guitar that was shaped like a toilet seat for some program, but they wanted you to make it in about a week or so.
I was asked to make a guitar shaped like a toilet seat, apparently, and I said no, because they wanted it the next day.
No, they wanted it within a week.
Yeah, some of these like theatre productions and them type of guys, I've had strange requests from them people. The one string bass is probably the most popular strange request. One is more, not four. That was a bit of a strange one. That was a request for a guy that's our Stevie bass. He wanted a bass that you could play sitting down with a spike. So that's an archtop bass with a spike so that it could be played sitting down. Yeah, it's fretless as well. So it's basically a small cello. And Jim, I've also added your other suggestions to the list. So we've got a list of, if you go to the forum, the community, and click on the home thing, you'll find one of my first announcements was, well, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys want? I'm here with this workshop full of stuff and I've got multiple cameras now so that we can get in on the action. So what do you guys want me to do? If you go to the forum, you'll see there is a post that I made early on where I asked that very same question. And we've got a list of stuff and I'm actually going through, I need to actually cross them off. I'm actually going through and doing them all. I think we've done over half of them already. But strange requests, that was one from Jim. Strange requests. Also, he wants to know about double neck guitars. So double neck guitar, it's no different. The main problem is you're going to have to buy twice as many parts. For an electric guitar, you need pickups for both areas and switches, and you need a huge piece of wood for the body or several pieces glued together. But it's not a problem. it's going to be more work because you've got to make 2 necks, obviously. But you can use the design course, lay out your piece of drawing, and just lay out 2 necks. What I would recommend is you probably make up a hardboard outline of the whole thing, just so that you can hold it and make sure you've got the necks far enough apart. I've seen some where they've put the necks very close together, and that can be a bit of a problem, or the necks can be too far apart. So just to make sure that you've got one that suits you, probably good idea to make a mock-up out of hardboard or something, just an outline. You can hold it, make sure it feels right before you go committing yourself to some expensive pieces of wood. And Jim also suggested that we make some videos about what to do when things go wrong. So actually I did do that on the course. There are a couple of times where things did go wrong. I snapped a drill, for instance, is one that comes to mind. Snapped a drill, and I'll show you how to get out of it. So yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant idea. There could be a whole series of mistakes, how to correct your mistakes, or faults in the wood, how to fix faults in the wood. And also Jim also suggested that we do binding an electric guitar body or an electric guitar neck. So binding an electric guitar body is pretty easy if it's a flat top. If it's a carved top, then it becomes a whole different kettle of fish. Binding an archtop guitar is a lot more tricky and difficult. But there are a couple of tools that you can get that will make it easier. That's certainly that is definitely a topic that I would like to cover at some point. And binding the neck. So if you're binding, you can bind the fretboard and glue it on already bound, but binding the fretboard is a bit more tricky. It's not the actual binding of the fretboard. It's putting the frets in afterwards. Every fret's got to be cut out for the binding, and so it adds a lot of work. Again, you can buy specialist tools to do that. I've got all these things. Subject for another video. Great suggestion, so thanks for that one, Jim. There's one that I'm halfway through binding. Don't know if you can see the black, white, black on there. This one's going to be bound in 2 stages. So it's got black, white, black, but it's also going to have some wood on the outside. So there's a little ukulele with a bound fretboard that I'm making. So yes, we have a growing list of suggestions for videos, so keep them coming, guys. More suggestions, please. If there's something that I haven't covered yet and you want me to cover, then leave a comment. Also, if you found anything useful in this video or you just enjoyed it, click like. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed and share the living hell out of it, please. Thank you very much for that. Our foray on YouTube continues, and we're heading up for 5,000 subscribers. So thanks, guys, for all your amazing support. So I'm just going to finish by giving a little shout out to Jeff and Andrew. So Jeff bought the kit and signed up on our course on guitarmaking.co.uk, and with his lad Andrew, the two of them together are building their guitar at home. So at the moment they're doing their drawing. Do we have any pictures of that? No. So maybe next time we'll feature Jeff and Andrew, who are building father and son type thing. So we've had quite a few father and sons. We've had a few come to the workshop and do it together. But what a brilliant thing, eh? Stuck at home on lockdown. Why not build a guitar with your son? Brilliant idea. So well done, you two. I hope it goes well, and as always I'm here to support you. So if you've got any questions, or if there's anything that I've missed, make sure to just ask. And that's it. We're done. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you found something useful. Above all, I hope that you took something away from this and you just think to yourself, what I want you to think to yourself is that I want you to think, I could do that. He's an idiot. That bloke's an idiot. If he can do it, I can do it. So brilliant. Thank you, guys. And I'm going to come round there and fade it to black myself because Carol's busy on the comments.
People are saying thank you for a great session.
Thank you to Carol especially for doing the cameras and everything. Thank you to everyone. But I can't just keep talking forever. So we're going to fade to black now. Rock and roll. Remember, measure twice, cut once.